If someone needs to get off to work now or get out of the house, 803-212-6796. Is that the right number to call?
That's my number in Columbia, and they will put me through, and I will be happy to get back to them. There's a website that you can go on and get members of the
scstatehouse.gov.
That's
I saw
right.
that. A lot of great information there.
Great information, and you know, one of the things that you've heard a lot about or people talk about is transparency. You know, I want to know how my representative is voting on this issue and that issue, and everyone should have that right.
Right.
And now you can get online and you can see exactly how I have voted on every piece of legislation that has come across the desk, or you can see if I haven't voted for some reason.
Right.
People don't appreciate the fact that in any given day you may have 15 or 20 votes. And occasionally there'll be a constituent that you're meeting with outside and you can't get back in to make a particular vote. But by and large, everyone votes on almost every measure if they're there. And when people ask me about a vote, everybody that serves should be in a position to explain why they voted the way they did. And if people disagree, the good thing, people talk occasionally about term limits in the General Assembly, and we have term limits. Every 2 years, if you're a member of the House, you stand for re-election. And if you aren't doing the job, or if the voters don't feel that you're up to the task, then they can replace you with another candidate. And that's as it should be. And I never take exception when somebody says to me, I don't agree with a particular vote, as long as they understand why I vote a particular way. If they disagree, then that is certainly their right, and they should advocate for their position.
Well, I'm thrilled, and speaking of that you actually are willing to provide your number and encourage viewers of all types, all over the state, to give a call, and you may send them to another representative, but you highlighted you represent all citizens of the state.
We represent the entire state, and particularly in Horry County, I represent all of the people in Horry County, even though I'm technically only a representative for those members of 105. But if someone in Representative Alan Clements' district, or in Thad Vyer's district, or in Liston Barfield's district has a question that I can help with, I'm happy to help with any member of our delegation. And that's also true for our senators. We have, 3 senators that represent this area: Senator Luke Rankin and Dick Elliott, and then Ray Cleary.
Sure.
They all do a great job. Yancey McGill represents a small portion of our area.
Sure.
And all of the members that serve in Columbia, they're anxious. I mean, we work for the people that elect us, so we want to hear from them.
Absolutely. Committee is a big word. I've got a number more questions. We've only got 7 or 8 minutes. I want to make sure we get to some of the big topics. I'm going to ask the word committee.
I serve on the Judiciary Committee, and there are a variety of committees. The Judiciary Committee is comprised primarily of lawyers, and our committee is the one that, when bills come through that change the laws, be it the criminal law or laws dealing with family court matters or various regulations that have a legal input, they'll come through my committee and we will vote on them. One of the biggest things on our plate right now is the redistricting. Yes. Redistricting comes under the auspices of the Judiciary Committee.
Is that right?
We will be spending a lot more time this year on that issue than anything else when we get back into session next week.
And this is for the State House, this is for the State Senate, this is for U.S. House.
This is, and we have the opportunity, conceivably, to have a new congressional district. And you can never be sure where those lines are going to be drawn, but it is our hope that Horry County will have more of a say in who represents us, and we may well get a congressional district that would make it possible from a political perspective from someone in our area to be elected to Congress, which we have a wonderful representative now named Tim Scott, who is a very talented, he was a freshman with me in the General Assembly, a great congressman. But if we had another opportunity to have Horry County as the central part of an expanded district, it would only help us, because we've got a lot of challenges, and there's so much that happens on the federal level that we can't control. So we have to make sure we have good men and women serving in Washington for us.
Yes, George, what are some other parts of the state that are potentially, I hate to use the word vying, but vying for that, is it the 7th seat? South Carolina has been granted by population the 7th seat.
Well, the upstate always would like to have an additional seat. Everyone would like to.
Sure.
But it's really based on population, and the population growth would suggest that we are the logical candidate. The one problem with trying to draw the lines, and that's literally what you do in reapportionment, you draw the new lines for the House districts, for the Senate districts, and for the congressional districts, is that when we live on the coast, we can't go far east and try to get up additional population. So we go from the coast and we go inland in a variety of areas. And I don't know how the maps will ultimately be drawn, but it's going to be fun watching that process and actually participating in it.
Yes, George. Well, there are some major issues in addition to, of course, redistricting coming up. You talked about the budget having and the $2 billion plus drop in revenues over the last 2.5, 3 years. Some other big issues that are really facing the state.
The most important thing that we have facing our state is we have to find jobs. We have to grow our economy. And we've done a great job. I mean, we've had the Boeing plant that has come in that's a wonderful addition to our state. And we have new jobs opening in Horry County that are offshoots of that. But we cannot get out of the economic difficulties we have unless we can grow employment, and we can grow employment without growing government, because the two are somewhat inconsistent. And we've been very proactive in that regard, and that has been a bipartisan effort. Everyone appreciates, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, everyone appreciates the fact that if you can get people back to work, our economy will improve, and we're working very hard on that. I hope one day that we'll also be able to address our tax system, because we have a very unusual tax system that is not probably the best one in the world. So one of the things that I've been paying attention to is trying to see what we can do to overhaul the tax system that we have in place right now.
Well, those are the big things that you talk about. That idea of, again, being used to being able to make things happen quickly on the local level in a local business or otherwise, getting up there and saying, hey, we want to look at overhauling the tax system. That's a big deal, George, but it takes at least one member to get the ball rolling. And hopefully a lot of them wrapping together and working hand in hand.
Whenever you're talking about taxes, it takes a lot of people to agree, and that's a hard proposition, but it's a challenge that we all face, and to the members of the General Assembly's credit, they don't shy away from that proposition. They appreciate the need to do that job.
Any potential changes on the local political landscape that you see? Anything?
Well, we're going to be redrawing the House lines, and I would expect that we, Horry County, might get an additional member of the House of Representatives in Columbia, which would be also a one. We have 6 members now, and if we have a 7th, that just enhances our ability to hopefully get more representation in Columbia. Our area has grown so much, we have the population that would justify a new House seat, and one of the issues that will be determined in the weeks and months ahead is where those new lines are going to be drawn. Who's going to be representing which group of people?
How is that done exactly? I know this would take more than a couple of minutes to explain, but
well, basically you look at each district that you have now, and you look at the population, and every member of the House of Representatives will be representing approximately 37,000 people. And so you try to divide or design a geographic base that has that population. For instance, in my community, with Carolina Forest growing so tremendously, Carolina Forest, Loris, and Conway, I'm going to have to lose approximately 30% of my district in some fashion in order to even out the representation for everyone else. Some people have to lose, some people have to gain. But it's not my seat. Whatever happens, the thing we're all aware of is we're part-time employees, and we only work as long as the people want us to go back and serve. So they'll draw the lines, and hopefully when they draw the lines, people will have more options available to them.
That's tremendous. George, what aspect have you been most proud of for you in your service over the last 2.5 years to the citizens of District 105 and to the citizens of South Carolina?
I've been proud of the way our state has dealt with some very difficult issues, and it's not an individual effort. What I do take great comfort in is the fact that the House and the Senate, while they don't always see things exactly the same way, they do work together to do the best they can for the citizens of the state. And in face of some pretty trying times, you hear about our budget deficits, and they are there, and we dealt with them, and we've got a balanced budget. You look at some states, they do not. And I'm proud of the fact that we have been fiscally responsible. We can do a better job at it, but we're doing well, and I'm proud to be part of that.
Those are great words. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely, George. Stay tuned to a little more with George Hearn coming up next. You know, we ran out of time. I wanted to get into it with George. Had he and Kay not ended up here in 1979, where else could they possibly have wanted to live? If you sat here the last 25 minutes, I hope the answer was apparent. Even if they hadn't ended up here, they would have found a way to get to Horry County.
Without a doubt.
His love of the county shows. George, thanks again
Thank
for
you,
being
Greg.
with us this morning.
Nice to be with you.
Absolutely.